Week 5 is upon us, and we are going to discuss short stream right now. So for those of you who can join us, thank you. For those of you who can't, and you're just watching outside of the live stream, appreciate you for tuning in. Real quick, we're going to head over some of the consensus rankings, look at some of the injury updates, who to play, talk about a trade we made in one of our home leagues, and kind of discuss who to play in my home league as well as your guys' home leagues. Maybe look at the waiver wire a little bit. But yeah, let's get right into it. If we're looking at just the consensus rankings, we're on Fantasy Pros consensus of 44 experts out of 171 available. And you can change all this doing like in-season accuracy, blah, 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 whatever. But if we're looking at quarterback here, we'll look and see what discrepancies we have and who we would suggest over who. Right now in my home league, I have Mahomes as my quarterback 1 and a 10-man 2 flex. And then I have Lamar in my 14-man. The catch is I should have taken Lamar in my 10-man, and I decided to just have variance and go for Patrick Mahomes instead of Lamar. I could have had Lamar on both teams. And I should have done that. Mahomes has been bad in fantasy. I think it's like the last 14, 15, 16 some games. He hasn't produced a 20 fantasy point finish. They have him ranked 11th this week. I would agree with that. I mean, it's just tough. You really don't know their game plan. They want to play super balanced. They want to run the ball a lot. They want to minimize mistakes. Mahomes has been kind of mistake prone. You see here, we had the game last night. Sick game if you watched it. Falcons Bucks. Kirk Cousins throwing for a 500 banger, 4 tutties and a pick. Baker down here. I mean, they had Kirk Cousins at 19th on the week. He's going to end up being the QB1. Baker ends up throwing up like 20. So many fantasy points Baker had. 23.4 on only 180 yards passing, but he had 3 touchdowns with 42 rush yards. So, I mean, crazy game last night. Super sweet for Thursday Night Football. High scoring is back. My quarterback's Geno Smith in my 10-man. They have them ranked back-to-back. I mean, we'll get to that later. Kyler all the way down here at 9. Fields at 6. Matched up against Dallas. I'm going to that game Sunday night. I'd agree having Fields here. Can't really complain here. I might have Purdy down a little bit. I'd probably have Love at 4. Fields at 5. Probably throw Purdy at 6. I'd probably throw Burrow ahead of Stroud. Buffalo's pass defense has been very good this year, albeit they haven't faced a team like the Texans. I mean, they faced Miami. Miami struggled. And then in that game, you get the 2 injury, right? Yeah. So I would move Stroud down just a hair, probably below Burrow. Just flip-flop them, maybe even down 1 to where Kyler is. Kyler goes against a tougher matchup where, in my opinion, he's usually better under pressure. He's better running around. San Francisco's probably going to provide that game environment for him. So yeah, I'd move Stroud below Burrow, Murray. Geno Smith, it's hard to project because, I mean, he could go out and throw 3 touchdowns, but at the same time only have like 200 yards like Baker last night. Solely because the Giants are horrible. They're going to be missing Malik Neighbors, possibly Devin Singletary. Their defense is banged up. The Seahawks could want to just push Kenneth Walker through them, but the Seahawks do have one of the highest neutral pass rates, so. And then as we go down, I mean, AR is questionable. Deshaun Watson could sneak into the top 12. I'd probably even take Deshaun over, like, Mahomes. I mean, as crazy as that sounds, like, Mahomes has just been bad. It's tough to project into the other guys. They're kind of hit or miss. We're looking at running backs. Again, we'll just look at the top 12 here. See what we can replace. Go down a little more. It is tough on bye. Lions, Chargers. on bye, so no J.K. Dobbins, no Gibbs, no Montgomery. Two other teams on bye. Not two other teams on bye. I don't even think I know. I don't know why I can't think of who's on bye. Anyway, Jordan Mason. I mean, I agree with that. Projected a ton of points. Kyron Williams, just usage is off the charts. Kamara, Kenneth Walker. Bijan, we saw how that turned out. I mean, he's got to be out of the top 10 soon. Like, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to rank Bijan. Like, the volume's there, the talent's there, but it's like, it's not getting home. In a game that Atlanta puts up 37 points, Kirk has 500 passing yards on damn near 60 attempts, and Bijan gets 11 full or 10.7, I think, PPR points. Brees in a tough matchup against Minnesota. Just the volumes there. You could probably flip flop Aaron Jones and Brees. I'd even move Jacobs ahead of Brees. So Brees at 9. Cook at 10. That would move Jacobs above Cook. And honestly, Aaron Jones with that Rams matchup. Should been a decent matchup against Chicago. It's more a matter of game script. Same with James Conner. If they can stay in it, we'll be fine. And then we're looking at like ETN. Great matchup against Indy. Can they be productive? Was he going to lose work to Tank Bigsby? Is it going to be more of a 50-50 split? Who knows? Brian Robinson hasn't been practicing. I don't even think he was at practice today. Swift, I mean, hard to project because of inconsistencies, but you could probably move him above. I'd move Swift above ETN. In this tier of guys, just based on matchup. And the rest of these guys, man, it's just dart throws. Receivers, looking at I mean, I don't know about CD at 1 this week. Collins at 2. Obviously, he's just been insane. He's the 1 in fantasy, but Buffalo's defense is solid against the pass. But with no Joe Mixon, I expect them to air it out. Could be a slower paced game, though, the way Buffalo plays. Offense. Jefferson, I mean, I get these 3, but they're tough matchups for these top 3 guys. Like, that's where, like, Jamar Chase could probably be slotted at 1 here. Just based on his matchup, the Ravens are horrible against the pass. DK 5th, I agree with that. I'd even take Jaden Reed, slide him above, like, I'd go Chase, Lamb, Reed, Collins, Jefferson, then DK. DK's is more based on, like, they're just going to blow out the Giants, probably. You would assume. Godwin, Evans had a great game with 2 touchdowns last night. Deontay does have a tough matchup against Chicago. But who have the Bears played, really? Like, the Bears defense is good, but they played the Rams with no receivers on the Rams. And Stafford threw for 224. They play the Colts, but that's AR. Doesn't even count. They did play the Texans. They shut the Texans down pretty well. Stroud only throws for 260 and a touchdown. But they can't stop Nico Collins, 8 for 135 and a touchdown. I mean, I like Deontay there. They also play the Titans. So, like, the Colts, Titans, Rams with no Cooper Kupp, Puka. Obviously, the Bears have had it pretty easy. Aside from the Texans game. Nico Collins did get home, so not worried about Deontay as much as I thought I would be. Drake London obviously smashes last night. Slide Dig just down a couple more. So this is Garrett Wilson. I mean, this is where it gets tough. I think you slot Thomas Jr. up a little bit. So many guys that just like that flex him. And then tight end wise, I mean, that's a shit show. So let's actually look at the injury reports now. Bears Panthers game. Nothing of note there. Although the Bears are missing defensive tackle Zach Pickens and cornerback Charles Smith. Left guard is questionable. Panthers missing Josie Jewell, Shaq Thompson. Damn, their defense is cooked. So yeah, I mean, I would move DeAndre Swift up for sure. Panthers are missing 2 top linebackers. Panthers missing their center. That's not good. Then if we're looking at the Ravens game, Malott out. Nothing too big there. Defensive tackle for the Bengals out. Other defensive tackle questionable. All their defensive tackles questionable or out. Ravens are going to run the ball down their throat. Shakir out. Something to note there. In place of him, you still have no idea. I mean, like, nobody else on that team does what he does. The only person that could would be like Curtis Samuel. So I'd look to see Samuel's target share or just like routes go up in that offense. Keon's going to be maybe looked at more, but I assume the Bills look to run per usual. But also seeing both D linemen are out. So Ed Oliver out, huge, because he's a huge run stopper. And a clog up the middle. Taylor Rapp out, safety. I mean, Houston could have a good day. They're missing Joe Mixon, by the way. Would I start Cam Akers? With bye weeks, yes. If you're in a pinch. Startable, especially with Ed Oliver being out. Dameon Pierce questionable. Okay, nothing else of note there. JT out for at least a week here. AR still questionable going into the game. Can you play Trey Sermon? Probably not. Heck, Steichen came out and said it was going to be running back by committee while JT's out. So that won't be pretty there. Evan Ingram's still questionable going into this week. Tough. Jordan Poyer out for the Dolphins. Don't care about Skylar Thompson. Don't care about Odell. Blah, blah, blah. Bunch of questionable players for the Patriots. Which I guess would be good news for the Dolphins, but the good news is that honestly, the bad news for Mondre would be that 1, 2, 3, 4 offensive linemen questionable for this game. Now, one thing that could help the Dolphins, linebacker going to be questionable, Jonathan Jones questionable, Marcus Jones questionable, Kyle Duggar questionable, Marte Mapu questionable, and Jabril Peppers questionable. So, like, if you're missing some of these guys, Dolphins have a chance. The skill players have a chance to do something. Tyreek can move up a little more. Nick Chubb out, obviously. Njoku questionable. Nothing of note. Brian Robinson Jr. questionable. That is of note. Austin Eckler would be a must start there. Zamir White out. Devontae Adams out. Michael Mayer out for personal reasons. Hopefully a big week for Brock Bowers finally. Who knows? Broncos, Tyler Beatty out. Only guy there. Cardinals missing their guard cornerback. Don't like to see that. Offensive tackle Beachum. Christian Jones questionable. Cardinals D tackle. Tonga questionable, so I mean that's huge for Jordan Mason. Need those offensive tackles healthy for James Conner. Kittle questionable, Warner questionable. Romeo Dobbs doubtful, not injury related, personal. Christian Watson doubtful. Big for whoever picked up Dontavian Wicks. We'll get into that shortly. Obviously, Jaden Reed's been a top 5 must start with Jordan Love. Musgrave questionable, could be big for Tucker Kraft, but a bunch of O-line questionable. Jordan Morgan, Jenkins, some defensive players questionable for the Packers, which could prove good for the Rams here. Neighbors is out, doubtful Devin Singletary. So if you do want to go ahead, start Tyron Tracy. I wouldn't mind that play. Tyron Tracy, pretty good running back, good prospect. Actually, look if they have that up yet. They do have it updated. Tyron Tracy on ESPN's projected 10.4. I don't know if the coaches spoke. I don't know if Dayball spoke on that or anything. Seahawks, no Byron Murphy again, no Cameron Young, both their D tackles out. Their linebacker Mafe questionable and Julian Love questionable against the Giants, so could make for a little easier game, closer game. You can run on the Seahawks. The Lions ran all over them. The Lions threw all over them. Their defense is not that good. The only thing is the Giants aren't going to have Neighbors. It's going to be Darius Slayton, Wando Robinson. They're not going to have Devin Singletary, so be interesting to see. Looking at the Sunday night game, Cowboys, no B. Cooks, no Micah Parsons, huge for the Steelers, huge for Fields starters. Also, maybe no Trayvon Diggs. Steelers missing Jalen Warren. I saw he's dealing with a grade 1 PCL strain. His knee. Cordero Patterson out. Pruitt out. Alex Highsmith out. Russ questionable. And that's about it. That's all the injury updates. See if there's any other news going on. Obviously, Darius Slayton could see more targets. Njoku hopes to play. That would be huge. No Zamir White means Alexander Madison. Does he become a must-start guy? No, but with bye weeks, possibly. We don't know how this is going to mix in with Abdullah and Dylan Lobb. Trey McBride back from the concussion. Let's see. Nothing there. Myles Garrett, good to go. Anyway, let's look at our home leagues, and I'll show you guys what I just did. I'm 0-4. Absolutely brutal. I mean, week 1 was horrible for me. Jake Moody lost me that week. He put up 26 points or something like that. And it's just been downhill from there. I've been without AJ Brown for the past 3 weeks, which is coming into my trade. I have Devon Achane, so without Tua has been horrible. Josh Jacobs had no Jordan Love for 2 weeks. That was rough with me. I had Garrett Wilson going through the gauntlet. Deontay had Bryce Young. Trey McBride gets a concussion, and at the same time, we play defensive players. My defensive player at the time was Brian Branch. Him and McBride collide. They both go out that game. Like, I've had horrible luck this season with everything. Mahomes sucks. But finally, I make a trade. AJ Brown and David Montgomery, who Montgomery's been like my only staple, to get James Conner and Metcalf because Brown and Montgomery on a bye. I'm 0-4. I need a win. Crucial week for me. Young Wei puts up 16. Absolute baller. he doesn't miss those 2 field goals last night, I get another like 11 points off that, which would have been huge. I would have had like a 27-point banger from Youngway because he missed a 50 plus, he missed a 40 plus. Our league, you only get -1 per miss. He also had 1 point for a tackle because we play defensive player rules. But yeah, I made that trade. I get DK and James Conner. So now I have them. I get Dontavian Wicks off the waiver wire. And now this is where it becomes really hard for me because do I want to risk playing Garrett Wilson and just hope that he finally breaks out in week 5? Or do I go ahead, bench Garrett Wilson, put in Dontavian Wicks, who is going to be the wide receiver 2 without Dobbs or Christian Watson? Or, I mean, I guess the other move could be take out James Conner and run Metcalf, Wicks, Wilson, Deontay. Other option would be no Achane and have James Conner, Josh Jacobs, Wicks, Metcalf, Johnson, Wilson. So questions there, moves to make. Because I really want to start Wicks. I mean, he had a great day. The Rams defense is so bad. That'll be tough. We need to figure out what defensive player to pick up, but I'll worry about that on Sunday. And then the last thing, if we look over here in my 14-man league where we're 3-1, lost a heartbreaker last week to Kenneth Walker, putting up 33 PPR points, and also the Titans defense there, both combined for like a total of 42 points on a crazy comeback on me. I scored 100. You can see the score right here, 140.74 to 146.72. I was in the lead by a good margin. 140 points on a 14-man is good, and I lose. I was the second highest score in the league last week, and I lose to the highest score. So rough one. I should be 4-0. We're 3-1. Team stacked. Lamar, Kyron, Jordan Mason, crazy pickup. Right as soon as I saw Elijah Mitchell go down at the beginning of the season, bang, put him on my roster. CMC goes down, boom. Jordan Mason, absolute unit dog, 5th ranked. Running back, Christian Kirk, finally big weeks. The last 2 weeks, right? Yeah. Last 2 weeks, 10 and 12 targets. If no Evan Ingram, even better. Great matchup against Indy as well. Shaheed against KC, tougher matchup, but he's been pretty sturdy. Saw 11 targets last week. Doing a lot more with him. Brock Bowers, 8.7, which sucks, but there's no Michael Mayer. Hopefully Jacoby Myers is going to see Pat Surtain. So hopefully we funnel some passes to Brock. He does better. Maybe gets the first touchdown of the year. Started out hot. 8 targets, 9 targets, then cooled off with 4 and 3. Tank Dell. Probably going to start him. It's tough though. The Buffalo defense is solid against the pass. But Tank Dell healthy. Hasn't done anything this year. Missed last week. Maybe would start Tyrone Tracy or Tutu Atwell over him. That's a decision for me to make. Starting the Jets defense against the Vikings, because who cares? Youngway puts up a 13 banger. You lose 2 points in this league for missed field goals. So that crushed me. He could have had also like a 26-point week as well, which would have been huge for me. Guy I'm going against actually has Kyle Pitts too. So the first game Kyle Pitts does anything, it's against me. But let's look at defenses actually to add. Probably nobody good on the waiver wire. Yeah, not really anybody good on the waiver wire. Defensively, the Packers are second in points. against the Rams. I mean, I could do the Packers. Do I trust that the Jets can get it done against Minnesota? Maybe, because it's in London and those games are May. And the Jets are 10th overall. They haven't done anything to wow you, but been sturdy enough. Gonna have to drop them next week anyway. Let me look at the Packers defense here. Who do they play next week? Play the Cardinals. All right. But that's about it. That's gonna wrap it up for today. That's my review there. Actually, I do want to go through and look at the games though. So let's go ahead. Let's pull up the schedule. Week 5. Obviously, we see the Bucks Falcons game last night. Sick Thursday night football game. Best one of the year. Probably going to be the best one of the year overall. Jets Vikings in London at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. That's going to be a lower scoring, probably defensive battle. Vikings against the pass, not that good, but I think Vegas has a 40.5 point total on that one. So not great at all. Jay Jettis has a tough matchup. But I do think in this game, this will be finally a game I think the Vikings have to play more football. I do think they finally lose to the Jets, who are just gonna play boring football, but somehow end up winning this one in London. Panthers, Bears, obviously expect the Bears to win, but not by much. They're favored by 4, over under of 41. I do expect the Bears to win. I expect DeAndre Swift to have a decent day. I think Keenan Allen's back, so it'll be a Doomsday Allen and more. That offensive line is just so bad, so I think this game will be closer than people think. The Browns Commanders game. Commanders at home, favored by 3.5. 43.5 over under. Honestly, the Browns defense obviously not as good as usual. With the Commanders defense being so bad, I'd take the Browns in this. And I'd even go as far to say I'll throw a bet on Deshaun Watson to have more than 225 passing yards for a plus 125. That's not a bad prop there, in my opinion. And then you could put Jerry Jeudy over 50. That's not a horrible prop. But yeah, I'm going to go Jets, Bears, Browns. Get a win here in Washington. Dolphins, Patriots. Boy, is that an ugly game. That's projected 36 points. Miami favored by 1. But to be honest, with the way that Miami defense has been trash, in New England, I'd go ahead and give that to New England. Colts, Jags. See that over under 46. Jags favored by 3 at home. If Joe Flacco plays, the Jags will lose this football game. If AR plays, it'll be a lot closer. The Jags really need to step it up. The Colts defense is trash, but the Jags passing defense is trash. So this one could be a shootout. It could be fun. Again, over under 46. Pittman should be in for a good game. Down should be in for a good game, especially with Joe Flacco. Don't expect a lot of running from the Colts. pass catchers in Jacksonville. I mean, Trevor Lawrence needs to have a big day. I'd even go off and say that Trevor Lawrence kind of finds a groove in this game. But I would take the Colts there. At least spread-wise. Bills, Texans. Gonna go Billies. Billies underdogs by 1. But over under 47 in that game. No Shakir, remember? But no Joe Mixon. Look, if you went like Bills +1. If you just want Bills outright. Bills, Colts, Patriots, Browns, Jets. 10 to win 450. Not horrible. All right. Ravens, Bengals. This one's going to be... Ravens are obviously going to try to establish the run. Bengals defense is very porous as a whole. But Ravens run defense, solid. I expect the Bengals to just be able to sling it. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, great days. On tap here. Chase Brown as well, maybe. In the passing game, receiving game. Ravens, I do think have to throw it a little more in this game, so Zay Flowers should see something. Raiders, Broncos. Gonna be an ugly one. Wouldn't even watch that game. Also, for the Ravens, Bengals, give me Ravens in that game. Again, just better offense. What is playing in my background? Fantasy Pros. Sorry if that was on the stream. It definitely was on the stream. It was just Fantasy Pros acting up. Raiders Broncos going to be an ugly game, like 36 points. 35.5 actually. Broncos favored by 3. Give me the Broncos. Just better overall right now. Cardinals 49ers. Projected 50 points. 49ers 7.5 point favorites. Again, I would take the Niners there. Giants, Seahawks. Seahawks going to take that one pretty easy with no neighbors. Favorites by 7, 42.5 over under. Rams, Packers. Give me Packers in LA, but give me Packers 48.5 over under. Packers projected by 3. Steelers, Cowboys, tough one to project there. Steelers actually favorites at home, 2.5 points over under 44. Then that Monday nighter, Saints, Chiefs over under 43. Chiefs 5.5 point favorites. Screw that. Hate the Chiefs. Give me the Saints. I know it's prime time at Mahomes. The refs are going to give it to them, but give me the Saints that night. Give me, obviously, Steelers at home against the Cowboys. Yeah, should be a good week of football. Some higher scoring matchups in terms of who's playing who, with some of the defense being trash and susceptible. So, can't wait for week 5. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, comment on this video. If you haven't done that already, let me know what you want to see in the future on these previews for every week. We'll be doing these on Fridays, most likely. Don't forget to tune into our Overreaction Monday videos. There should be timestamps if you want to just see your team's matchup. See me go over the week. Doesn't include Monday night games. It only includes Thursday and then Sundays. But yeah, we do Overreaction Mondays. We've done 3 of the 4 weeks so far. We'll try to do this week. And then we also do a best ball recap every Tuesday. This week we did Wednesday. But I go over my best ball teams that I drafted on Underdog. See where they're at. Kind of gives me an update, gives you guys an update, and then we also have been doing some best ball resurrection drafts while those are still available. Speaking of which, if you want to draft Underdog Fantasy, there's a link in my description. Code Temptation, TEMPATIIUN. get you 50% deposit match. So if you'd like to do that, play some DFS, play some more fantasy football this year, go ahead. But again, appreciate you guys for checking us out. Fantasy